Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of GnWC Weekly. I'm the Duke, and I'm joined by my good buddy, Angry Larry. Nothing? Did you mute? Did you disconnect?
I have no idea what you just did.
I just wanted to get you once. I wanted to
You
get.
got me.
I
You
wanted to
definitely got me
return the
once.
favor, and you just went totally dark.
You just invalidated the last 5 hours of my life trying to come up with a good opening. But also let me introduce my brother Daryl and my other brother Daryl.
Fantastic.
So that's plan B.
How's it going, Larry?
It's going good, man. How are you?
Pretty good. I've been sitting on that all week, by the way.
Have you really?
Yeah,
You're
I'm just
gonna
like,
get him
I
this
thought
time?
of it after the last show. I'm like, oh, it's time for the swerve.
You know what's pretty funny is my opening was going to get you.
Oh, yeah? Yeah. What did you want to save it?
Nah, I got to save it now.
All right, yeah, you got to save it. All right, so
No
it'll be
point to it.
your retaliation.
Yeah, and it's
So-
probably going to be in like 2 weeks or so. Because next week we're probably going to do a Roadblock preview.
Yep, makes sense. So, but I guess
If it's next week, because I get dates wrong all the time. I don't even know when Roadblock
Yeah,
is.
it's the 12th, which is not this Saturday, but next. So
Okay, so it would be next week would be our Roadblock preview show. Okay.
That's right. And just to make sure everyone knows, today is Thursday, March 3rd of 2016, and we just finished SmackDown, and I just finished puberty apparently. But Angry Larry, do you have any news and notes for us, sir?
News and notes, really? I am actually staying away from news and notes because I don't want to
Right.
hear anything about upcoming spoilers to NXT tapings or
Yep.
plans for WrestleMania, plans for Roadblock, and stuff like that. But the one thing I can say is that as of SmackDown, there was another announced match for WrestleMania, and that is going to be a 3-way matchup between Charlotte, Sasha Banks, and Becky Lynch, which we'll talk about in a little while. That goes along with Dean versus Brock Lesnar in no holds barred street fight, Shane McMahon versus The Undertaker for control of Monday Night Raw, and the WWE World Heavyweight Championship match, Triple H versus Roman Reigns. So far, the card's shaping up pretty nicely, pretty much how you would expect it. The Shane McMahon wrinkle in between kind of throws you for a loop. But with Roadblock on the horizon, Duke, I knew of this special somewhere back in December, I would think. I was looking forward to I was looking ahead to like the next NXT live special from the London one, and I stumbled upon this being a WWE Network special for the main roster. But they really kept this hidden from the public until Monday, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, and I was
kinda
I was actually impressed. Like that, this is kind of one of our news and notes. Is oh, by the way, there's going to be a special next weekend.
Which they named today.
Yeah.
They didn't even name it on Monday. They actually didn't mention it on Monday.
No, they didn't
They
mention it. No, it came out Tuesday morning
Yeah.
in emails, like network emails. If you get those, then they had the picture of Triple H and Dean Ambrose for the splash for it. So yeah, pretty cool.
So while we're on the subject of Roadblock, I guess, let's just go right
Sure.
into it.
Well, hang on, I got one news and note thing.
Go ahead.
So we and many other people have talked about the financial things going on with AAA and Lucha Underground by proxy and stuff like that, and how much money it takes for Lucha Underground to run. Well,
Yeah.
interesting move they've made in the past week. They are now on iTunes, which is actually not a bad idea. I mean, if you don't have your own streaming network, then why not put it on iTunes, charge people a few bucks for each episode? So you can go back and watch all of episode 1 on iTunes, and you can also subscribe to get the season 2 episodes as they go live. So they show it, and then it shows up on iTunes.
Season 1. You can watch season 1, right?
No, both.
You said episode 1, so I was kind of confused.
Oh, did I say episode 1? I meant
that's
season.
why I
Yeah.
want to clarify.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can watch season 1, and speaking of episode 1 of season 1, that one's free, and then so you can see if you like the idea of Lucha Underground for free, and then you can pay for the episodes after that in season 1, and then season 2 you can subscribe to it and pay for them as they come out, and you can see them basically whenever everyone else is. Maybe there's a little delay. I'm not sure the exact timing of it, but I know they had all the episodes. I know they were current when they made the announcement. So I would assume you're going to get them pretty soon after it airs or when it airs. So pretty cool. It's not a bad idea since they there's obviously a financial thing there. And
I wonder who gets the money though, El Rey or Lucha.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, who knows?
I'm sure there's a split somewhere, or it's percentages between iTunes, Lucha, and El Rey.
Yeah, and but,
any revenue is revenue though, and any exposure is exposure, so it's not bad.
Well, and it also gives you it gives them a gauge of how many people aren't watching us live, how many people or how many people aren't even watching us, on normal TV.
Well,
and if we put it out there. Sure, there may be people watching it for free, not on normal TV, but if we put it out there, will people support us that way? Will people reach out that way, which is a cool idea.
Ratings on El Rey plus ratings on iTunes.
Yep.
However, they measure DVR metrics as well. I don't even.
Yeah, that's some kind of convoluted garbage.
I went to school for TV broadcasting, and I still don't understand Nielsen ratings.
Yeah, I think Nielsen does.
You may or may not count for it. And your TV may or may not count for it if it's on the channel, but you're not currently watching it. It all depends.
Yeah. Crazy, weird, backroom dealing type stuff. Who knows? But let's move on to Roadblock, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Roadblock is. I'm gonna put it in a so I'm trying to figure out in my mind within the last couple hours. Am I putting it in the category of the Beast in the East live special from Japan? Or am I putting it in a category that was Elimination Chamber, that it's like a full-fledged pay-per-view and should be taken seriously? Or am I going to be watching a live house show where you pretty much go in expecting everything to happen based on what the matches are? Beast in the East had the title change in NXT with Finn Balor beating Kevin Owens. But everything else was pretty much, it was a safe main event in a tag team match that had the New Day getting destroyed by Brock Lesnar. And I feel like this one's still going to be the same. You're going to get the NXT match, which is Dash and Dawson. What are they called? The Revival now?
The Revival.
Quickly dropping that.
Yeah.
And it hasn't taken to my brain yet.
Yeah, the Revival of tag team. So okay. They're the Revival.
Versus Enzo and Big Cass for the NXT tag team titles. I expect, and I'm pretty sure you expect too, Enzo and Cass to walk out of there with the tag team titles.
I don't know. I really don't know.
I kind of do, and at the same time, I can kind of see if they don't.
I mean, I feel like if you're doing this cross promotional show, it would make sense
to have the title change,
to have them win, so that when they are, because people have been expecting them on the main roster like any day now, so. If you have them win these titles on this cross promotion show, then that gives fans more exposure to them. And so, on Raw that next week, there'll probably be, quick little snippets of things that happened at Roadblock, mainly the title match, of course, and maybe the Brock and Wyatt match. We'll see. But yeah, so I don't know. We'll,
I think you have the tag titles change because I think at this point, if you're planning on bringing Enzo and Cass to the main stage, how many times are they going to lose in NXT before moving on to the main event? The big roster, the main roster.
Well, yeah, and you can have them win here, and you could have Dash and Dawson win at Takeover, win it back, or you could have American Alpha take it off of them then. And they run with it for a while, so you've got
or you have a tag team match where they're not involved in the outcome and they lose the title, protect them.
Sure, like a 3-4 way, something like that.
Yeah. Speaking of, we'll talk about that later. Yeah. Since you mentioned it, Bray versus Brock Lesnar was announced today on SmackDown as an official Roadblock match.
Yep.
It was supposed to be Luke Harper, I believe, versus Brock Lesnar.
Really?
But yeah, I think that was the early announcement was it was going to be that. That might have played into the hands if WrestleMania was going to be Brock Lesnar versus
right
Bray Wyatt or Strowman or something like that. But now they just fast-tracked it to be Bray Wyatt versus Brock Lesnar. Do we expect anything out of that match other than Brock Lesnar just being dominant? Well, let me ask the question differently so we can both give our answers on this. Because
I'll
Brock
be
Lesnar's
quick.
not losing this
Yeah.
match. He doesn't lose matches. He's not going to lose the match going into WrestleMania. Does Bray Wyatt get anything out of this match?
I mean, he's in the ring with Lesnar, and that
He's
can't.
already been in the ring. He already did that 2 years ago at WrestleMania.
What?
I'm sorry. He wrestled Undertaker.
That was Taker. That was Taker.
Yeah, now I'm
Yeah,
confusing the two. They're
No,
one
it's
and
fine.
the same
Well,
in my mind now.
easy enough.
I've created the Under Lesnar, and he just walks around tombstoning everyone. Walks into Jimmy
Brock
John's,
Taker.
like, give me a chicken, and he just tombstones people.
Yeah, but I think him being in the ring with Lesnar and it being I think what would really validate him even in a loss would be if the Wyatt family gets sent home, gets sent away from the ring and it's really just a 1v1. But I mean, he's delivered some great finishers to Brock. Brock's taken some great Sister Abigails from him. So I don't know. We'll see. I think it would be interesting if you had sort of a brawl for a bit, then some Suplex City, and then somehow Wyatt turns it around a little bit and even gets a Sister Abigail off, and then Brock just kind of hops up. He no-sells it, essentially. So, and then Wyatt realizes he's out of his league. He gets F5'd and end of match. I don't know where that leaves Bray Wyatt coming out of that, though. I don't even know where
Bray Wyatt goes at WrestleMania.
I don't know.
The fact that Brock Lesnar is the beast. He's the animal. He destroys everyone. And he's going into that match with Dean Ambrose being the animal. I don't think this match, I don't even think it's a good match in between for either guy.
Right, yeah.
Because Brock Lesnar either has to make Bray Wyatt look good by selling a lot and making Bray Wyatt look legitimate, or Bray Wyatt just looks like inferior while Lesnar still steamrolls on his way to WrestleMania.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree. Here's the yes no of all of this whole thing, and it goes back to your original question of what is Roadblock? Is it just Beast in the East where nothing necessarily happens on the main roster? It's just a house show, or is it something significant where things could actually happen besides, like you said, the NXT title, the NXT tag title changing hands? If this is actually part of the story, or maybe this is a way that they've adjusted the arc, or they put something in here so they could make adjustments before WrestleMania, and some crazy stuff happens, like Ambrose wins or something like that. If Ambrose wins, you're not putting him in a match with Brock, and you're not doing a triple threat with Brock and Roman. You would do Ambrose and Roman, and then you have babyface and heel, right? So then you don't have the cool heel versus guy no one wants to cheer for at WrestleMania, and it makes things more compelling, which I know we were going to get to that match in a second, but I'm saying that for the sake of the Brock match. If that's going to happen, then Brock versus Wyatt ends in a disqualification, and they actually do face each other at WrestleMania.
Let's transition this then to the main event of Roadblock, which is Triple H versus Dean Ambrose for the heavyweight title. I am trying really hard, really, really hard, not to speculate that every match in WrestleMania is going to be a multiple person match. We have the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, maybe. I never even heard of it being mentioned yet, and I'm on the WWE WrestleMania 32 official website, and it's not even listed there. So you would think that even though no competitors are named for it, that they would at least list it. So that might be a long shot. That might not even happen. You go to the U.S. title, which as of right now doesn't have a number one contender for it, which I am speculating to be a ladder match. You have the Intercontinental title, and Owens has no opponent right now. But The Miz and Ziggler still seem like they're fighting for something. So maybe that turns into a three-way match between the three of them. You have the Divas, who are already in the three-way match. You have the tag team titles where the New Day are making fun of the League of Nations, but the Dudleys are going after the Usos, and and Y2 AJ is there as well, and Golden Truth is on the horizon. So is that going to be a 6-way tag team match? Is all said and done, McMahon versus The Undertaker might be the only singles match we have that features two competitors. It will be in Hell in a Cell, which is what we really didn't mention last week. And when you were saying that this could be your main event and I was kind of dismissing it, well, how are you going to get that cell down to the ring? Are you really going to hang it from the giant Jerry Jones Jumbotron and then drop it to the ring?
Well, and
have that weight of it there, or are you going to construct it during the match? And if it's not your main event, well, guess what? They're not going to deconstruct the Hell in a Cell for the main event. It would just take too much time. Does this match become a 4-way Hell in a Cell match for the championship title?
Oh,
my long way of saying it.
Where they combine them, you mean?
Where they say, okay, well, Ambrose throws a loop into this match where maybe he's on the verge of winning. I don't really think. Listen, it'd be great. It'd be a great mark-out moment if Ambrose beats Triple H at Roadblock for the title. It'd be a great mark-out moment. Dean Ambrose brought up a good point today, though. You have posters, you have flyers, you have everything that's already made Triple H versus Roman Reigns. So that's like wasted company money, and it's probably a lot of money just for show. And it's a company that has destroyed some classic cars over the year too. So I don't know how much they really value promotional money. But that being said, what if Ambrose is on the verge of winning this match? What if Triple H is on the verge of winning this match?
Yeah, I know where you're going.
And Lesnar interferes, almost helping Dean Ambrose to the point where Roman Reigns then resurfaces and interferes, almost not helping Ambrose, so that everyone's still vying for their match to be a championship match, whether it's Ambrose by trying to win, Lesnar by trying to help Ambrose win, Triple H by trying to win, or Roman Reigns by not letting Ambrose win. And then you create this dynamic where, well, okay, Roman Reigns finally screwed over his friend by costing him the match. And the cell's going to be there anyway.
Well, that's why I think Reigns would have to come out first, ruin the match for Ambrose, and then in the Waylay, you have Brock show up and just start destroying Dean too, so he gets double screwed essentially, because they're playing him extremely sympathetically right now, and so it plays to they are playing the perfect cards for Roman to be a heel right here. If they don't, it's mind blowing what they're trying to pull off. It doesn't make sense what they're trying to do at the moment if he's not turning heel.
And like you said, a few weeks ago, I think it was when we even did the Fastlane preview show, that Roman Reigns wins this match at WrestleMania, there's 100,000 people booing. People would cheer if Triple H wins it, but there doesn't seem like there's long-term plans for Triple H to be champion. The match has no real legitimate happy ending the way it is now. Either way, fans are canceling the network, whether it's Triple H, being Triple H and just booking himself to win, quote unquote,
right,
or Roman Reigns winning because he's being forced down our throat. The introduction of Brock Lesnar and Dean Ambrose gives now a 50% chance that if either one of those people win at WrestleMania, the fans are happy.
Yeah.
More so, I think, if Dean Ambrose wins, but I think a lot of people would be, they're Brock Lesnar fans. They like him. So if he wins, it's legitimately people are going to be happy anyway. Could they have changed their mind somewhere?
Yeah,
and said that we have to book it this way?
Yeah, see, I don't know. Well, and what one thing that's kind of confusing that you brought into the picture, you talked about the cell. I don't know how that plays into this because that's not either of these matches. Like you were mentioning Hell in a Cell, but that's...
Oh, I'm saying because it's there anyway, and if McMahon versus Undertaker is going to be the co-main event, and they're going to have the cell around the ring, are they suspending it from there? They're going to pull it back up? Is it going to be hanging off of the friggin' monitor?
Yeah,
the
I know.
Huge monitor?
Like that just
or
sounds like... Or they're going to have
to construct it.
That sounds dangerous.
Right, exactly. So to me, it feels like they're going to construct it. And if they're going to construct it, they're not going to deconstruct it after the match and then have the main event.
But Larry, you're forgetting about something.
What's that?
We have to have a music concert in the middle of WrestleMania, so maybe we do it between the co-main events.
That's true, but then again,
Yeah.
you have to do something before the main event too to construct it. So
Yeah,
either
that's
way,
true.
you're gonna have before and after the match. You're gonna have these long pause breaks to do it.
Yeah.
But I'm saying since the cell's already there, and Dean kind of dropped the hint today.
Well, that's why I still feel like it needs to just go on last, the cell match. I know
Yeah.
the traditionalist is do the championship last, but I mean, come on, it's Undertaker.
Well, that's the one argument against you I had last week that I didn't factor in.
Yeah.
Was the fact that it is in the cell, and if it is only going to be the only match in the cell, then it kind of makes sense from a technical standpoint.
Yeah, from a
To have
technical
that match
standpoint,
last.
and if
And the
somehow
lighting.
Shane wins, it makes sense it makes sense no matter who wins, because it's like, where's the company tomorrow? You know, what happens now that Shane showed up and he was our savior and he just got mauled in a cage by someone who was just ruthless? Or it's, holy crap, Shane just won. No matter what, it's like, what the heck happens tomorrow? I think most people are more for somehow, some way, Shane needs to win. I don't want to root against The Undertaker, but this could be a new creative direction, or it's at least a new tool to do something a little different. So
Fans cheered The Undertaker on Monday Night Raw when he
Sure.
came out. Fans went crazy when Shane McMahon re-debuted
sure.
the week before that. All said and done, it's face versus face.
Yep.
Technically. Undertaker loses, though. Do fans riot?
I don't think so.
The legitimacy of it, that all these people could not beat The Undertaker except for Brock Lesnar, and Shane McMahon can beat The Undertaker?
Well, I'll tell you what, if you look at what they've, and I know it's on social media, but if you look at what he's been doing on social media, McMahon, it's pretty crazy. Like, he's just showing this insane stuff that he's doing with his strength and conditioning coach, who's like a MMA guy. I forget his name.
That's fine
at the moment. Yeah, but like,
but he's not all the people. He's not Triple H. He's not HBK. He's not, and insert any name of anybody.
True enough.
Giant Gonzalez.
I got you.
Of all the people that Undertaker has fought in over the years.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, it's true, but you do have, I don't know. I think there's ways to logic it out, but yes, it is The Undertaker, and I feel like there has to be some sort of shenanigans, even to the point of The Undertaker just lays down at some point, because he's like, you know what? Like, maybe McMahon,
Poke of Doom would be the worst thing they do.
Well,
it would be the worst.
No,
thing
I don't
they
mean
do,
that.
Especially if you want to make
no,
that
no,
a
no.
main
I
event.
mean, they have a knockdown drag out. Undertaker's about to end it. Vince comes out to like prematurely gloat about it, and then Taker says, "You know what? Screw this," and he pulls Shane down on top of him, and 1, 2, 3, because Undertaker is beholden to no man, which was sort of hinted at in the in his promo. You know, he comes out and Vince is about to say, this is my, or something to the effect of him having control over The Undertaker, or him being in charge of The Undertaker, and that's when The Undertaker cuts him off with his hand around his throat. So I feel like that could play a role, but again, we're booking WrestleMania. It's hard not to book WrestleMania at this point, but
well, I mean, that's the whole fun of
yeah.
the speculation of
Yeah.
it. That's kind of like traditional news and notes kind of crap went out the window in terms of,
Yeah.
okay, we're going to be a fan and we're going to, like, what are they doing? Let's foresee this because
Yeah,
it's
this
31 days away or whatever.
Yeah, and it's
question
really
here for
tough
you,
too, though. It's really tough, but especially now, Roadblock actually, like, it puts a roadblock in my mind, because it's like, well, these things could happen, but you don't expect that anything's going to change. Why are we doing this?
Did they announce where WrestleMania is going to be next year, by the way? Or does that happen at this WrestleMania?
I think they do it right. They do it about the same time, if not.
It's the last thing they do in WrestleMania, right? They have a commercial for next year's WrestleMania.
Yeah. You're right. That's
you know what I wanted to happen next year's WrestleMania weekend if Shane McMahon beats The Undertaker?
Undertaker beats Shane McMahon?
No.
What?
Steve Blackman goes in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, that makes sense to me.
Steve Blackman defeated Shane McMahon SummerSlam 2000. And if Shane McMahon can beat The Undertaker, then that legitimizes Steve Blackman as the greatest wrestler ever. You can't, it's, it's some rule of mathematics. If A equals
You
B and
you make
B equals C, A equals C.
you make quite the mathematical point there.
I do. It's cognitive. I think
yeah.
it's called associative, disassociative, something like that.
Oh yeah,
Imperative?
I'm pretty sure you're disassociated in some way.
No, listen. He knocked him right off the scaffolding and then delivered the elbow drop and got the win. He'll be the greatest wrestler ever if Shane McMahon wins. That means I'm rooting for him. There you go.
There you go.
So to speak. Back to Roadblock here for a second.
Yeah, I'm like, where do we go from here?
No, this is the greatest transition ever. This coming Monday on Raw, Y2AJ is going to fight New Day for the tag team titles. Now, I don't expect a title change. I expect a rematch at Roadblock.
I don't know that I expect a rematch at Roadblock. I expect a rematch at WrestleMania. I disagree with you on the tag titles. I believe that this is set up for Y2AJ to go over at WrestleMania. What's that?
They have a shirt now.
Yeah, I know. He said something about that.
That means they're going to break up soon.
Why would you do
Whenever a tag team gets matching gear or a brand new shirt, they break up. Pretty shortly.
The New Day says hi.
They'll break up soon.
The Heart Foundation says hi. You
want to talk about how many times the Heart Foundation broke up?
Well, they were together for a long time and champs for a long time. The Road Warriors say hi.
Hey, remember when Draws was a Road Warrior? Or Puke, I'm sorry, Puke was a Road Warrior? And all he did was throw up in a bucket?
I'm good with moving on.
But that was a thing,
that's what I expect.
You don't even remember that. That was a thing. Remember Hawk wanted to commit suicide? He was going to jump off the Titantron, or did jump off the Titantron? That happened too. Oh, by the way, speaking of Hawk, were you American Gladiators fan growing up?
I watched it a little bit early on, yeah.
I was a big American Gladiators fan. I was yesterday, Hawk, Lee Rariman or something like that. Whatever his real name was, he passed away. Fortunately. They found him in his room, something like that.
He wasn't that young though, was he?
He was 46, I think.
Whoa!
You watched G4, right, and all that.
A little bit, yeah.
Maybe when it was Tech TV, he actually hosted a show called Arena, and they would have live esports, not live, but they had esports like stuff with two teams competing, and he was the host of it. It was pretty cool.
That's cool.
And when I got it was like the end of G4 when they actually had video game programming, and then they went to all whatever else that they did after that. Speaking of people throwing up, I think there was actually a show where people threw up on the show. I think Spew or something like that. I don't know, but
that is fantastic. Now. But back to the tag
I was watching
match.
old Ninja Warrior on YouTube, and it had the G4 promos in it too.
The tag match. I suspect that shenanigans happen because there are 3 members of New Day and there are 2 Y2AJ. So I suspect that the 3rd gets involved, whether it be or the 4th. It could be Xavier Woods. It could be Francesca. One of them gets involved in the match on Raw, and then they make a WrestleMania match. I don't think they do that for Roadblock because why have 2 potential title matches, tag title matches? I feel like that takes away from the NXT title match or tag title match. So,
that's a good point. It could. You can concede that they're going to have the match at WrestleMania. Then you're not going to add in 20 other teams. What about the New Day making fun of League of Nations all the time?
I think what that's doing is that's setting up these other tag teams to have more heels for Y2AJ. Because the biggest problem with the New Day has been there's no over babyface tag teams besides the Dudleys when they were doing it. And
except the Dudleys, and they changed them.
Yeah, the Dudleys, they changed them, and then the Usos. But you kind of need that you got to have more than one. It's kind of like NXT right now. You have Enzo and Big Cass, and then you have American Alpha. You have 2 babyface teams, and then everybody else is, either enhancement or hard heel. So I feel like they're redesigning that for after WrestleMania when you have 2 of the biggest baby faces in the company elevating the tag titles again. I feel like maybe I don't know if Hunter and Jericho pulled each other to the side and said let's make tag team what it on the main roster what it is down in NXT. I don't know if that happened or if it was just, I don't know. I don't know if a conversation happened, but it seems like we've talked about for a while how Jericho is all about putting younger guys over and building and trying to help build other titles and stuff like that. And I think that's what he's doing here with the tag titles and AJ. And it's a good way for them to eventually have a feud, split up, and AJ to move on to bigger and better things.
Oh, so we're gonna get a feud between them that ends their run, and
Sure.
we had a feud to start the run.
Sure.
So it's more of the carbon copy WWE booking where we're just going to take the same people and just keep putting them in matches.
Well, it's just but it's very similar to the Jericho and Edge story, but AJ has all those years of this is who he was outside of WWE. We can't wait to see more of that. So as soon as that feud like really erupts, it's going to be a massive explosion. And who knows, maybe it ends up being over a bigger title and they could bring IC up higher or whatever. Who knows? But I suspect that's the direction they're going, and hopefully everybody stays healthy to get there. So
yeah, it'd be nice, and it's definitely a not to say I'm tired of New Day having the tag team titles, but I'm tired of there being nobody else in the tag team picture.
There's just
that's
nobody
on the level. So
yeah,
and I'd like to see some of the people in New Day, maybe even Xavier Woods, vie for single titles. He had that match with Cena in the U.S. Open Challenge, but I think each and every one of them has a lot more to them than we see or had been given the chance to see before the New Day was created. So why I don't want to see them break up, it'd be nice if they were like doing singles stuff as well. Like even the Shield, Dean Ambrose was U.S. champion and the other two were tag team champion. I would like to see something like that with the New Day where they're chasing, whether it's Kofi chasing the Intercontinental title or, Xavier chasing the U.S. title. It'd be nice if they lost tag team titles and that happened.
Well, and more, it seems that New Day is slightly shifting toward babyface. Toward actually being, they make fun of heels more than they make fun of, like they'll talk down to baby faces. They don't really say bad things about them. They will just completely lambaste the heels right now. And I think maybe after they lose the titles, which again I suspect it to happen at WrestleMania to Y2AJ, when that happens. When that happens, it could start a shift in them where maybe they do their rematch, and instead of it being some kind of stupidity or some kind of, not stupidity, but just some goofiness at the end or them whining at the end, you have the rub from Y2AJ where some hands are shaking and stuff like that because they've had these really good competitive matches, hopefully. So.
And maybe even after the match, the Dudleys would attack Y2AJ and New Day makes the save.
Exactly. Something like that. Yeah. Just actually, this is baked in. It's already easy. You can do it. Like you put the idea in my head, but they've already set this up. The League of Nations attacks Y2AJ.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Then the New Day says, "Well, screw this," and they start beating down the League of Nations, and you've basically had an organic turn that was slowly built with the New Day, and people are still going to love them because they're still going to come out and be memeable, but now they're just fighting the bad guys instead of fighting the good guys all the time. And then when you get to that point, they can start going after some more individual exploits. So you could have Kofi going after Owens, or you could have all three of them going after Owens.
One after the other.
One after the other.
Kalisto, I mean, make more,
sure.
From the heel. Well, actually, you're calling them face at this point.
Well, yeah, I feel like that's. I feel like that's happening right now.
That flew over my head when I'm like, why do they fight? Oh, that's right. He turned.
Right. But, I feel like that's happening right now, and especially if you're going to have a shift in management or authority, if that happens, then it would make sense for them.
To butt kiss and be good guys.
It kind of makes sense, for them to sort of shift. So they're still shifty, they still maintain their characters, but they sort of move over to the lighter side instead of the darker side. So
it also sets up another interesting match with Y2AJ versus League of Nations. They can do titles versus Barrett, and then they can win, and then Barrett would have to be forced to retire.
That's messed up, yo. I could see Barrett and Jericho coming up with that and laughing about it, and then Vince walks by and he's just like, "Let's do it." Sounds great.
Can we put a hand in there?
Because it's a hand.
I think the hand gets more mentions than Steve Blackman on this.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
All right, I have news and notes here that I really just remembered when we were talking about it. And,
okay.
But before I get to that, I was going to say something about everyone's favorite Ryback, and that being Ryback. Now, we have The Miz beating Ziggler on Raw. We had Ziggler beating Miz on SmackDown in a time that rivaled 2014's Diva segment and being like the shortest matches ever on televised TV. Yeah.
But it worked for him.
It worked for him. Yeah, no, sure, it worked for him. And this is where I can't get rid of, in my mind, the whole idea of every match is going to include multiple people. Because right now, Ryback has nobody. Do we get a rematch of these two on Raw, and then Ryback just come out and destroy them both? Because he has this heel aggressive persona, which is actually kind of worked on me on Raw, but we didn't see him tonight on SmackDown.
Yeah, I think it works better for him because he's just kind of a dick in real life. So I think it makes more sense for him to be a dick on TV. But
you said it twice. Now we have to put this 13.
Oh, we have to do what?
I said you just said that word twice. Now we got to be PG-13.
Oh, we're PG-13 now.
We're TVMA now.
Well, I wasn't talking about a body part. I was just talking about he's not a nice person. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it depends on the context. How
I
you get
can't
rated.
formulate any singles matches or singular tag team matches, 2-on-2, in my mind going forward to WrestleMania that really make any sense right now, because everyone right now is linked to multiple people.
Yeah,
except the champions, Kevin Owens.
Yeah,
and
Kevin
Kalisto.
Owens has kind of separated himself from everybody. So is Kalisto. Yeah, it is a weird scenario.
Feeding him anybody, like saying like they're not dropping hints. Like Kevin Owens today says he has no opponent. You know, Kalisto visibly has no opponent. He hasn't even wrestled in a singles match since defeating Del Rio at Fastlane. He's always been in a tag team match, and now Sin Cara's back.
Yeah, and now all of a sudden you have.
And where's Neville? I mean, Neville was on NXT, but Neville has taken like the Tyler Breeze path to like not being on TV anymore. Yeah, where he's only going to be in 6-man tag matches.
It's really weird.
It is, because they hype that guy up huge, and like let's not mention that Stardust is not on TV a lot either anymore.
I almost think that a lot of those guys, they've told them to take a breather, and maybe they're just doing house shows or whatever.
I'm sure they're doing the whole take a breather stuff has me worried, because when people take a breather, it means creative has nothing for them.
Well, wait,
and it's a bad rut to get out of when creative has nothing for you.
You didn't let me finish the sentence, because they've got this cruiserweight challenge that's coming up.
Well, that's part of my news and notes. So if you want to mention it, go right ahead.
No, you go ahead. Because I just kind of heard it in passing from everybody.
Yeah, I said it last week on the program that WWE has been in talks with several promotions around the world to create a junior heavyweight kind of not championship, but tournament that may be annually. It may be taped and then shown on the WWE network over the course of like 10 weeks or so. I believe that's what I read, but it was going to include Mexican, Japanese, and American wrestlers, both signed and unsigned by the WWE. So they'd come in as a contractor, almost like Tommaso Ciampa was and Johnny Gargano were in NXT. They would just bring them in, tape the tournament, and then they can do whatever else they do after the tournament or even while it's airing.
Essentially an open house.
Right. Invite only kind of tryout open house kind of deal. Like Ring of Honor does that with the they have
one night only
going on right now. No, that's TNA.
That's TNA. Sorry.
Ring of Honor has
what is it
kind
called?
of like a rookies tournament, and it's escaping my mind. And I just watched an episode of it today.
I know. I just heard someone talk about it like 100 times, and
it's pretty good.
Well, and that's where Dalton Castle came from. He just showed up at one of those things, and then people were like, "Okay, he's the most over person in the building."
Donovan Dijak was last year's winner, and like a lot of people have come from that tournament that have like made a name for themselves in Ring of Honor and stuff like that. But New Japan Pro Wrestling is revitalizing the Super J Cup tournament, which is essentially a junior weight type of tournament for all the lightweights and stuff like that. They haven't done one since 2009 though. And Marufuji won that one, and he won it 2 years in a row. He won it in 2004 and 2009. So they ran this tournament 5 times over the course of 22 years, and they're just revitalizing now on the heels of WWE doing their own Super J Cup tournament.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting.
WWE officials did talk to New Japan Pro Wrestling about this too, to use some of their talent. So I'm wondering now if this is filing under the. Are we filing this under coincidence, or are we filing this under New Japan trying to take back what's rightfully theirs in terms of the Super J Cup tournament being their thing, and trying to lock down their guys for it, and there's going to be no participation between those people in WWE's thing? Or is it going to be 2 different tournaments for these type of wrestlers that are going to wrestle in both?
Well, and maybe if cooler heads will prevail between both companies, maybe they'll just piggyback off of each other, which will be amazing. Amazing. Ring of Honor's tournament is called Top Prospect Tournament.
Top Prospect Tournament. Yeah, I just watched today. Thanks for looking that up, because I looked up the other thing while you were doing that.
Sure.
So the Super J Cup, the wrestler who shall not be named ever won in 1994. The next year, Jushin Thunder Liger won, and then 5 years later they held the next one, 2000. Liger won it again. Then 4 years later, Marufuji won it, and 5 years after that, Marufuji won it. So it's not their thing. They haven't been doing it yearly. I thought they did it more times than they did. But I was a fan of wrestling back in 95 as well, so I remember it back-to-back years, watching tape trading for it and stuff like that. But I don't know. Like, the J Cup tournament was awesome. It had so many guys that you just didn't know at the time that became people. Taka Michinoku, Dean Malenko, and Negro Casas, Hayabusa, Liger, guys like those, and then of course great Sasuke and stuff. WWE's version of this tournament, I worry it's going to be Cody Rhodes, Tyler Breeze, Gargano,
Neville,
the guys from Evolve. Like, the international feel that the J Cup had was great. I'm hoping we don't get a WWE like King of the Ring style version of it, just because as a fan of other wrestling, I would love to see guys I've only heard of, or guys that I've seen a select amount of times, and not guys I've seen every week for years. You know what I mean? But mixed in as well. I mean, obviously mixed in as well.
Sorry, I had to mute for a second. Yes, I know what you mean.
Okay. There was a lot of pause. I'm like,
yeah, you're like,
you really
I should keep
disagree with me on this that much? But it's just a feeling. Like, I've seen these guys every year, every event. Basically, I would love to see newer guys.
Sure.
In much, even if it's going to be a mix of NXT, WWE, and independent guys. I mean, I would love for it to capture that independent international wrestling feel.
Sure.
That I get when I watch Ring of Honor, honestly. Whenever they do super shows with New Japan Pro Wrestling, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Tanahashi,
or when you just
Nakamura and Okada, all those guys.
Yeah, or
and
if
then
you
you had
just watch
AJ
Wrestle
Styles
Kingdom
and the Young Bucks and everyone mixed in. It was just a tremendous card when those two companies get together.
Yeah. I was inserting, or if you just watch Wrestle Kingdom, that's also a place where you see that a lot too. So.
Well, that's the Ring of Honor New Japan Pro Wrestling combination.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, yeah, I mean, so I love that feel, the mix of the two promotions, and WWE has a way to now mix like 5 promotions at once if you want to consider NXT a promotion, and Evolve, which they already have a working relationship with. And
Sure.
then they can work in New Japan Pro Wrestling. They're not going to do Ring of Honor. New Japan Pro Wrestling works with New Japan Pro Wrestling, Noah, the Kaientai Dojo, Ring of Honor, like 01, I think is another company if it didn't go under already. There's another one too. I said Noah, right? That is another one
you
too.
did.
But I mean, it's just amazing. Like, they have, and it's kind of like what I think about the network. And I know money is an issue, And the more you add to the network doesn't necessarily mean you're making up that cost in subscriptions, because
Right.
any Ring of Honor fan might already have WWE Network. And I'm not too sure if, how many are actually going to piggyback on it if WWE was to somehow strike a deal with Ring of Honor to feature their TV show on their network. But man, as a fan, like WWE has this platform where they could so much put themselves over by featuring other companies as well.
Right. Well,
Just
and it comes across as them being willing to like come to the table and offer a platform for everyone instead
and
of
it
them
comes
just being the big dog.
it also comes across as them being the big dog too, because
Well,
here's
yeah, I no, but
WWE.
I'm saying it's not
By the way,
just the
watch
big
Ring of Honor
dog.
live 3 a.m. Saturday
Yeah.
or anytime on the WWE network. So it's kind of like that. But like Ring of Honor is a bad description about that because they have like the DVD base model,
Sure.
like and the pay-per-views and stuff like that. Any kind of deal they would make with WWE, I'm not even too sure that they make that much more money. Or WWE would even like make up the cost if they compensated them 1-to-1 on every dollar that they
Well,
lose.
and
You know what I mean?
you mentioned something like this for TNA a while back.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's it would be a cool place. If the WWE network, well, number one, if they would just rebrand it and not make it if they didn't have to put their name on it, which that will never happen. But
No, never happened.
that would be a way to make it more viable. I feel like for everyone else, if they weren't putting WWE above their name, but yeah, that's going to take some doing, and I hate to be morbid, that's going to take some dying for something like that to happen. So.
I don't think it's ever done. And honestly, I don't even think it should. It's their network. It's
sure. Yeah, I mean it is.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. It is.
You do want to establish dominance, even though it's like, well, it's narcissistic, but it's their company's network.
Yeah, and they've spent the money on all the infrastructure, like everything involved in making it what it is. That they've spent the money on it. No one else has. So,
all right. So to wrap things up here, I mean,
sure.
pretty much Roadblock is going to set up WrestleMania. I feel like it's not a prediction, so to speak. We'll talk more predictions next week when we know what the card will or will not be. But man, how much would I love that match to shock the world and for Dean to win the title, if not interject himself into the main event at WrestleMania, where I feel like he would win the title if that happened.
Right.
But I don't know. I really don't know how I feel about the WrestleMania main event being left alone.
Well, especially, and that's what everyone's saying. Even freaking Forbes is saying that. So it's when everyone's saying the same thing, I mean, you gotta think that someone's saying, we gotta get down off this ledge. We gotta get down off this ledge. This is not, this is gonna be really bad. This is gonna be embarrassing for the company. You gotta think someone's saying that besides everyone on the outside. Everyone on the outside, even WWE apologists are saying this. He's just, they're saying Reigns just isn't over. He would be a great heel. Why don't you make him heel? He looks dark and mysterious, and that's why women love him. Why don't you make him the dark and mysterious guy that shows up and just kicks everyone's head in? Like, why don't you just do that? Instead of trying to make him, kid friendly, why don't you make him what he looks like? What's wrong with that? Like, I'm going to be a little brash here, but WWE, you've been typecasting people based on what they looked like for decades now. Why can't you do that with Reigns too? That's how I leave it. So
I feel like anything done to interject the dynamic of the main event they have set up now, whether it's to add people into the match or I really can't see anything other than or just like a huge melee distraction during the match. I don't see any way 100,000 people are not upset after this match, and however many watched it, 1.4 million people potentially that watched it on the WWE Network, are not like, in a day and age where everyone takes things to heart and they consider either A, you like it, or B, you riot.
Right.
I don't think that like
there's no middle ground for most
more
people.
On the riot side than it would be like neutral or pegged towards liking it.
Well, especially on the internet, which is where you're going to make your press. That's where the press is going to.
It's where your show airs to 1.4 million people
Right.
technically
Right.
over the internet.
Right.
So 1,000,004 people, million and 4 people, 1.4 million people are on the internet watching your show. So there's going to be 1.4 million people making a point about, no, not really that many people, but have the potential to go on the internet in the anonymity of their own home and complain about your main event, as well as 100,000 live people that are going to have their reactions broadcast to 1.4 million homes at the same time.
Well, and also one, this is my last thing on this, and then you can say what you want, and then we'll close. But my last thing on this is the media is just going to be waiting to pounce on the numbers, and if it rolls over at the end, all they're going to be doing is finding the numbers. WWE's publicly traded, so the numbers are publicly available. So people are going to see that number just start diminishing if this ends up being what everyone expects. If they just say, screw it, we're going to go with our plan. And when I say they, I mean him. If he just goes with his plan, people are just going to be like, there's going to be a numbers update probably that entire week, and then there will be a big one at the end of the month to say WWE is dead. WWE just killed their own network. And I know I'm not trying to be as dramatic as everyone else on this, but I just don't. It's like we've said for weeks now, and I got it from Brian Alvarez. If Vince is embarrassed in front of all those big guys up in the press box in such a way,
big guys because he doesn't remember their names.
Yeah, exactly. In such a way that, I mean, if it's going to be so embarrassing to him, and then there's the numbers to back up the embarrassment too, and so it's just massive, not just insult, but massive loss on top of the injury to his ego. Where do you go from there? Like, just how do you pick up the pieces at that point?
I don't.
Again, not trying to be. I'm not trying to be. That's overstating it. Don't get me wrong.
WWE doesn't fold. The network doesn't go
away.
When
Correct.
Reigns
That's
wins.
completely overstating it. But that's how it will be presented by.
But you
everyone.
don't want to also piss everyone off at the same time.
Yeah.
Now it's not.
It's really a perception thing. That's what I was trying to get to. So yeah.
It's not guaranteed that WrestleMania has to be like a going home happy event. It doesn't have to be that way. Rollins won last year. It was shocking, but he was not the fan favorite in that match.
Sure,
wasn't in the match.
Sure,
he wasn't even the fan favorite in the match he had against Randy Orton.
Correct.
So it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to go home happy. That made sense, and that was quote unquote safe. And I think that has to be the word here with WrestleMania. It has to be safe. It's your season finale, unofficially, at least in my mind. It's your season finale.
Sure.
You don't want to go into your season premiere the next day on Raw with fans being pissed off. Now, they were pissed off a couple of years ago when Sheamus beat Daniel Bryan, but that was not your main event. And that led to an exciting Raw the next day. I think that if Reigns wins, it's negative going into the closing of the pay-per-view, and it's negative when he shows up, or it's addressed on Raw the next day as well in the with the raucous post-WrestleMania type crowd. Now, I will say this, though. This is my closing argument. You know when something happens and then it doesn't happen for a long time and then you no longer expect it to happen kind of thing?
Yeah.
WWE has done a lot to make things, put things in the back of your mind, put thoughts in the back of your mind. And what I mean by that, is that Del Rio lost. Roman Reigns won the heavyweight championship on Raw this year. Del Rio has lost and won the U.S. title on Raw and SmackDown this year. Those are things that have not happened in a long time.
Yeah, that's true.
So every Raw and SmackDown, you felt like, yeah, title match, nothing's going to happen. Title, like only pay-per-views things happen. And forget about house shows. They no longer even do anything on house. But I want WWE to show me that these kind of live specials on the main roster side mean something. And by
Thank
that,
you.
I think Dean Ambrose winning the title at Roadblock, a live special, non-pay-per-view special, so to speak, winning will now make me more interested in these live specials, even if they do 2 or 3 a year.
Yeah.
And it sets the tone so that, like, hey, listen, we have this amount match announced at the pay-per-view. There's no way they're changing that. There's no way this guy's going to win. Well, guess what? They just changed it on the biggest show of the year.
Well, yeah,
So
and
now
then
everything's in fair play now for at least a year, 2 years, because of this precedent that they would send if they did this.
well, and guess what? It's okay for Reigns to win at WrestleMania at that point. Because
It's a new dynamic depending on
because
what
it's-
happens in that match at Roadblock on the Raws and SmackDown up until WrestleMania. It may be a different Reigns in that match.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. Well,
so you're right. It may,
even if he's like smiling like a goober, it's okay for him to get booed at that point because you had the fan favorite in the match with him. So it's okay.
you lost the predictability of the match, and you threw everyone a curveball, and you distracted them from the point that all that can come out of this match is Reigns winning, and if he wins, we boo. Now it's, hey, we're going to root for Dean or Brock if he's in the match, or Triple H if we like the callback days.
Yeah, well, and
it's not much of a distraction if he wins anymore.
Yeah, and it's like, and if he wins, it's okay for it's okay for if he wins, Vince can say, you see, did you hear how they were cheering that other guy when he came? You see what I'm saying? It like takes all the embarrassment and the ego thing completely out of the picture at that point.
And they can take the negativity that Reigns gets and cause momentum with it on Raw, where he lays out Ambrose or something, you know?
Yeah.
And then they can roll with it. But that's many weeks away, Duke.
Yep.
Roadblock is next
not
week.
as far,
Next week's show will be the Roadblock preview.
Yeah, Roadblock next week. And, so I guess we're wrapped up for now. And
I don't know. You tell me. You wanted to speak for me at the start of the show. Speak for me at the end of the show.
You're going to pass
guys,
aggressive
that's Duke. Guy. Duke saying goodbye.
Oh, man.
I had bits. I have like a whole friggin' flow chart of things that I was going to ask you questions based on your reaction. I was going to go to different paths, but whatever. It's gone.
Oh, that sounds great for a couple of weeks from now when you try to surprise me with
Blackman Hall of Fame 2017. Make it happen.
Make it happen, folks.
Hashtag lethal weapon HOF.
Well, no, just hashtag
2017
2017. Blackman 2017. So, with that, we are really done. I'm the Duke, and you can see where I am on Twitter right there. I'm stealing from Jericho now, but you can see the Twitter handle right there on the screen, as well as Angry Larry's. And you know where to find us. Let us know.
One more thing.
What you got?
Get off my computer.